Hello and welcome to Tay Shay. Today we are going to be learning how you can make this adorable flower coaster in a single color. This is one of my favorite projects because it's super easy to make. It becomes a great gift if you have a friend who is getting a new home and you want to give them something for a housewarming, and they can just kind of be adorable without being too imposing on your life. Coasters are so useful for your desk, your coffee table, wherever, and this project is super easy to make. So for this project, what you are going to need is some kind of size 4 yarn in cotton, ideally. The reason why we want to use cotton is because it's going to do better with condensation. So if your drink has anything dripping off of it, it's going to absorb it better and be able to just handle that better than acrylic yarn would. And cotton yarns are really great. Some good options for this include this one, which is Caron All Day Cotton. You can also get the Lion brand 24/7 cotton. I believe Lily Sugar and Cream also works. It's just a little bit stiffer, so it won't have as much of like a soft, flowy vibe to it as these specific coasters do with the Caron All Day Cotton. You're also going to need a 4mm crochet hook. You want your stitches to be a little bit tight, but not too tight. The recommended hook size on these balls of yarn, I believe, is a 5mm, but I prefer a 4 with it. I just think it looks nicer and it's going to give a more absorbent vibe to the coaster. We'll also obviously be needing scissors to cut our yarn at the end and a tapestry needle to weave in your ends. But before we jump in to making the project, I just want you to know that there is a link to my Etsy shop down below where you can find the pattern for just a few dollars to be able to make this project as well if you don't want to follow the video. I just want to make sure that there is tons of different ways for people to make this, and if you're more of a pattern girly, then you can do that instead. So let's jump into making the actual project. So for this project, we are going to be working into a magic circle. If that's not something you're comfortable with, you can use a chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain to create a circle and place all of the same stitches into that circle and work that way instead. I just prefer the look and the feeling of a magic circle. It kind of makes me feel like a magician. But you are free to use the chain 4 method instead if that's something that you're into. I'm going to quickly go over how you can do a magic circle. If you want a more in-depth tutorial on this, I do have a video on the channel that you can find in the description on how to do a magic circle. It's a little bit slower, it'll go over it multiple times so you can get the vibes, but essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take the end of your yarn and place it in your palm like this. So we've got the end of our yarn dangled over our hand and then the working yarn connected to the ball on the back. Grab onto that working yarn and wrap it around your index and your middle finger. I could not remember the name of the finger, and funnily enough, it's that one. And what you're going to get with this is like a V shape. You want to cross it over, so then you have an X there on the side of your finger. Flip your hand over and just hold that with your pinky. Then we are going to take our hook, put it between the two fingers under that first piece of yarn, and then grab onto the second one and pull it out past that first piece of yarn. Twist your hook so that the yarn wraps fully around it, and then with the yarn that's being held by your pinky, you're just going to chain 1. Every time I do that on camera, it's a lot harder than when I'm just doing it when I'm sitting on my couch. So then we have this circle that we can work into. Now from here we have two options. We can either do a chain 3 for our first stitch, or my preferred method, which is a stacked single crochet, which is what I have here. The thing about a stacked single crochet is that it blends a lot better in with the double crochet stitches than a chain 3 will, and I find if you want your projects to look really professional, it's just going to look better, and it is not hard at all, I promise you. For a stacked single crochet, what you're going to do is put your hook into your magic ring and then grab onto the yarn and pull up a loop and then just finish it like a regular single crochet. And when you do that, what you're going to have is the legs of the stitch here at the front. So you can see the kind of a little V that is being created by that stitch, and you've got the right leg and you've got the left leg. So once you have your single crochet, you're going to put your hook under the left leg of the stitch. Just stick it right under there, and you're essentially going to create another single crochet under the left leg. So you'll pull up a loop to get 2 loops on your hook, and then it should be looking like this. And then we'll pull up a loop through the 2 loops on our hook to get you that stacked single crochet. And that is how easy that is. It is so easy to do, and it's going to blend so much better. From there, what we're going to do is place 9 double crochet into our magic ring to get 10 total stitches. We're going to count this stacked single crochet just as our first double crochet stitch. So for a double crochet, what we're going to do is we are going to yarn over. So just get your hook and put it under your yarn so that the yarn is on top. Go into the magic ring and then grab onto the yarn to pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, and then we are going to grab onto the yarn, pull through the first 2, and then grab onto the yarn again and pull through 2 for that double crochet stitch. If you aren't yet comfortable with the double crochet stitch, I have tutorials on this channel for everything, and you can find the double crochet tutorial in the description of this video. So now we have 2 double crochet stitches right there, and then we're just going to continue and do 10 total. So we'll just yarn over, pull through 2, and there we go, there's number 3. And we're gonna do 10. And the reason for that is that we have 5 petals. So I wanna make sure that I'm using a number that can be divided by 5. If we did 12 here, it would end up not really working mathematically. But we're just gonna put all of these double crochets into our magic ring and then close it up and continue on our adventure. Let's see, how many do we have there? So we have our stacked single crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 more. Double crochet number 9, and double, oh my goodness, I cannot grab onto the yarn today. And here is number 10, and because I never know if I can count, we're just gonna count again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 with that stacked single crochet. So we now have 10 stitches in our magic ring, and now we'll just grab onto the end of this yarn coming out of the stitches with the magic ring and just pull nice and tight. You want to get like as tight as you can without it feeling like you're going to actually break the yarn, and that's going to tighten up that circle there in the middle. It's going to do a great job. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put our hook into the top of that stacked single crochet. And we're going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into that very first stitch that we made, which is right here. And then we'll grab onto our yarn to pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, and then just pull that loop through the first one. And then you're going to have your first round complete, which is just this little circle. So cute. And the first 3 rounds of this are just simple circles. So we're just going to be increasing like normal, like you would if you're making anything in a flat circle. And for that, what we're going to need to do is insert 2 double crochet stitches in each of the stitches around. And this is called an increase. So we're going to increase in each stitch. So to do that, what we can do is either chain 3 for our first stitch, or we can do that stacked single crochet. So I'm going to do the stacked single crochet by inserting my hook into that first stitch and doing a regular single crochet. And then we're going to insert our hook under the left leg of that stitch and then single crochet into that spot as well for the first one. And then into that exact same spot where you just did that single crochet, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook for a double crochet. And that'll be our first increase. So we've got our first 2 stitches here. And you can kind of see now how well the stacked single crochet blends in. You really can't differentiate it very well from the other stitches unless you're really looking for it, which is why I love it so much. So we have 2 stitches there, and we're just going to put 2 double crochet stitches in every single stitch around. So we'll double crochet 1 in this spot, and then go right back into that exact same hole and do another double crochet. And we can just increase all the way around, and then it'll make our little circle a little bit bigger. So you can see we have 3 increases here, and I'm just going to meet you back when you get to the other side, where you should have a total of 10 increases, so 20 stitches at the end of round 2. So here I have 18 of my double crochet stitches, and since we started in the first single crochet and not here in this one, the last one might be a little bit difficult to work into because it is the slip stitch from the previous round, so don't be alarmed if you have a little bit of trouble getting into that stitch, but it's not that big of a deal. So here we go, there is our 20th double crochet, and it should be looking something like this now. Just right now it kind of looks like a shell at the top, but that's okay. So now we are going to slip stitch into the top of that stacked single crochet, which you can see right here. It is slightly shorter than the double crochet stitch, but we're just going to pull up a loop and then pull through the loop on your hook. And now you'll have a circle. And from here, what we're going to do is we are going to increase every other stitch. So we're going to place 1 stitch into the first one, and then 2 stitches into the next, 1 stitch into the next stitch, and then 2 into the next. So we can start in this first stitch with our stacked single crochet. You can do a chain 3 if you prefer, but just pull up a loop and do your regular single crochet. Put your hook underneath that left leg of the stitch, pull up a loop, so it should be looking something like this, and then we're just going to yarn over and pull through 2. And that'll be our first stitch. And then we'll go ahead and place 2 double crochet stitches in the next one. So double crochet 1 and double crochet 2. Ooh. We can see the yarn barf is infiltrating. It's unfortunate. So then we have 1 stitch in the first one and then our 2 double crochet stitches in the second. So then we'll put 1 double crochet stitch into this third stitch here. And then we will increase by placing 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And the reason that you want to do it this way is so that your circle is staying flat. You need to increase evenly all the way around, and you kind of want to have the same amount of increases per row that you have stitches in your first row. So this first row has 10 stitches, this one has 10 increases, this row is going to have 10 increases as well, but it's also going to have 10 single crochet because we have 20 stitches here. So in 10 of them you'll increase, in 10 of them you won't. And then you'll just add more regular stitches without increasing every time you increase another row. So we have 1 stitch in this one, 2 in this one, 1, and then an increase in that last one. And we'll just repeat that pattern of a double crochet in 1 stitch and then 2 double crochet in the next stitch until we get all the way around. And I'll meet you back at the beginning. So here I am back at the beginning, and I'm going to be making 1 last increase, which is going to go into that slip stitch space from the previous row. So once again, don't be surprised if that's a little bit tighter because slip stitches are just tighter than regular crochet stitches, and it can feel like you're not supposed to go into that spot, but I promise it's fine. So you should have something that looks like this, and we're just going to finish the round by slip stitching into the top of that stacked single crochet. So insert your hook, grab onto the yarn, and then pull it through the loop already on your hook, and then you have a circle. And now we get to do the fun part. So that part, pretty boring, pretty basic, but now we actually get to go ahead and make the petals. So you can see we've got 1 row here, 1 row there, and then there's our third, which we've already worked. And now we are going to be working the petal section. And my favorite thing about these coasters is that they kind of curl up on the edges. I just think it feels really cozy. Like you can see if you look at it from that angle that they do curl on the edges. They're not perfectly flat. And that's kind of fun to me, and I don't know why, but I think it's really fun. But now we get to do the fun part. And for this, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be placing 7 treble crochet stitches into 1 stitch, and then slip stitching, skipping a couple stitches to make sure that there's enough space for all of that. And that is it. It is so easy to do. It's just 7 treble crochets. So you're going to have your hook right here where you slip stitch, right? We're going to want to skip the next stitch and skip the next stitch. So we're skipping the spot where we already are, skipping the next 2 stitches. And then we are going to place 7 treble crochets into this third stitch here. Okay? And for a treble crochet, what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over twice before inserting your hook. So you can go and do 1 yarn over and then do a second, and then insert your hook into that third stitch from your spot, and then pull up a loop. So we're going to have 4 loops on our hook. And what you're going to do now is you're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. And that is going to be your first of the treble crochet stitches. And we're going to do that 7 times. So wrap your yarn around twice, stick into that stitch, pull up a loop for 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 times, and 1 more, and then you're going to get your second treble crochet stitch. And we're just going to do that 7 times, which feels like a lot, but it gives you a nice big flower that just looks really pretty. So there's 3. Okay, here's number 4, number 5, 6, whoop, and 7. And the yarn barf is once again trying to attack me. It happens all the time. Okay, so now we have our 7 treble crochet stitches. And you can kind of see that shape starting to build, which is super fun. So what we're going to do now is skip the next 2 stitches. And these stitches might be kind of encroaching and you might miss this stitch here, but this is going to be the first stitch we're going to skip, but it might be like kind of hidden. So make sure that you're skipping the correct one or you won't have your math work out. But we're going to skip this one and skip this one and insert our hook into that 3rd stitch. And then we're just going to slip stitch from that one. So we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, and then pull through the loop already on your hook. And that's going to create our first petal. And now we're just going to be repeating that process 4 more times so that we can get all 5 of our petals. So we're going to be having our hook in this one right here where we just slip stitched, and then we're going to skip the next stitch, skip the next stitch, and do 7 treble crochets into the 3rd stitch here. Okay, so we're going to yarn over twice, skip 2 stitches, insert our hook, and pull up a loop for 4 loops on your hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2 3 times, and just do that 7 times. So here's number 2. Whoop. Okay, number 3. Okay, do the 4th treble crochet. I always find after I do too many treble crochet stitches, my wrist hurts from all of the yarning over. It's a very weird phenomenon. Okay, so we're at 5 right now. So then we'll do another one for number 6. And one more for number 7. And then we're just going to be doing the same thing. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So you can see if you pull your stitches back, we've got 1 and 2, and then slip stitch into that 3rd stitch. And then you've got your 2nd petal. And it's not currently curling because we are going to be doing 1 more round after this that's going to give it more of a curl look to it. But you're just going to repeat that process of skipping 2 stitches, doing 7 treble crochet, and then skipping 2 more stitches until you get back and have all 5 of your petals complete, and I'll meet you back there. So when you complete your 7th treble crochet in that last petal, you're going to have 2 stitches that you can skip, and then you're going to slip stitch in the same place where you did your slip stitch from the previous round. So where our hook was at the very beginning of the round. So we'll skip this one, skip that one, and then you're going to have to stick your hook into this spot, which is going to be a little bit difficult because it is a slip stitch. It's one of the annoying parts about crochet is trying to do anything into a slip stitch, but that's okay. So we're going to slip stitch into that spot, and now we have this kind of flower shape, but it's not exactly this yet, and that's because we're going to half double crochet into every single stitch around, even including the slip stitches, and that's what's going to give it that little like rounded edge look, which is super duper cute. So now we have our petals all complete, and now we are going to be working the border. And for that, we're going to be half double crocheting in each of the 7 stitches in each petal and placing a slip stitch on top of the slip stitch from the previous round. So what we're going to do is we are going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, and then pull through all 3 of the loops on your hook. If you haven't yet mastered a half double crochet stitch, there is a video on this channel that you can check out to learn how to do a half double crochet. It is linked in the description down below. But you can just go ahead and place a half double crochet in all 7 of those stitches until you reach the other side of that petal. So here's number 6 and number 7 in that last one. So you can see it now starting to get that rounded look that we like so much. So then once we have our half double crochets in those stitches, we are going to place our hook in that slip stitch from the previous round, and make sure that you try to keep your tension tight for this part. And we are just going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to pull that yarn through the loop that's already on our hook, and then we'll get that rounded look to it. And we're just going to repeat that process all the way around. So you'll half double crochet into each stitch, and then we'll just slip stitch into that stitch between petals. And I'll meet you back at the very end when we can start weaving in our ends. And once we get back to the very beginning of the round, you're going to insert your hook into that slip stitch from our previous round and just slip stitch to finish, and then you can cut your yarn so we can weave in the ends. Now you can see a cute little petal flower situation. And we can go ahead and weave in our ends. And for this, I would just suggest that you make sure to reinforce that magic ring if that's what you decided to use, making sure that you just weave your yarn underneath it a few times with your tapestry needle. So what I mean by that is I'm just going to take my tapestry needle and I'm going to go around these stitches right around the magic ring. And this is just going to help to make sure that it doesn't come loose and make sure that you're able to use this coaster for many years to come so that you don't have to replace it or ever do any surgery on it. I had done an entire blanket with granny squares and not reinforced most of the magic rings because I was a beginner and I had to go back and fix a lot of them as they started to come undone, and that was a bummer. So you just want to make sure that that magic ring is a little bit reinforced, and then you can snip that yarn. And for this one that's up here, we're going to want to weave it towards the back so that it pulls and it doesn't, if you weave it towards the front, it's going to pull this way. We kind of want to weave it towards the back so it pulls backwards just a little bit. So I'm just going to thread my needle. And what I want to do here is I'm going to thread it through just the back loop right here of one of the stitches in the next petal, just like the first stitch there, and then that way you get that little space here, just looking all cute. And then we'll just weave it through the back. And it really, because you're going to only be using these in one direction, you won't really see this side, so you don't even have to be that precise or that neat with weaving in your ends. And it isn't something you're going to be wearing, so if it is a little messy, it's really not that big of a deal, especially if you're a beginner. People will just be impressed that you made something with your hands. That's how I always feel. I'm like, oh, I made that thing. It means it's cooler than anything you could buy at a store. And then we'll just snip that end. But there you have it. There is a cute little flower coaster that you can put on your desk, you can put on your coffee table, on your bedside table, anywhere you want to hold your morning coffee, your water, literally anything. And it is so fun to make things like this because you can make them in all sorts of different colors. Each one of these has like a completely different vibe just based off the color. And if you want it to be a little bit bigger, a little bit looser, you can also just increase your hook size to a 4 or a 4.5 or a 5 if you want to do that and just make it a looser shape. That's entirely up to you. Everything in crochet is entirely up to you, which is so fun. But if you enjoyed this video on how to make this cute little coaster, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm on the road to getting to 1,000 subscribers and I'm having the best time making these videos for you, so if you enjoy them, be sure to let me know. I really hope you're having an amazing day and I'm so glad I got to share my favorite craft with you, and I will see you next time. Bye everybody.